You might think that you failed because you had this idea and you had a specific timeline to achieve that idea, but you didn't achieve it. But does that mean you failed and you should stop? So this year I'm 30 years old, and past few years I've spent a lot of time thinking about my progress. I've come to the conclusion that I have many goals and achieve some, but I also don't achieve some of them. I have this drive to get everything I want, but I realize I have the tendency to want things too fast. Because I want something too fast, I don't achieve them in the time frame I've set for myself. When I don't achieve them in that time frame, I think that I did not achieve them. I think that I failed. The reality, it's much more complicated. The reality is that I am someone that like to do many things, have this type of FOMO, and it's a FOMO on my own life. Many people unconsciously have this FOMO, and when people are telling me, oh, I failed, they meant, oh, I failed to achieve what I wanted in the time frame that I envisioned. This is why I have now a different opinion on what does it mean to fail something and what does it mean to achieve something. And in between, you also have the ongoing process. There is something prevalent in people that like to do a lot of things at the same time or cycle between a lot of things. Some people think it's normal, some think it's abnormal. I think society thinks it's abnormal to have many hobbies, many projects, to switch between things. Some people call it multi-potentialite, multi-passionate, but I realized that I've naturally like to do many things because I'm a human being and I'm curious. So I've grown up as a curious child, and I ended up being a curious teenager, a curious adult. Reaching 30, I realized that I have more years, hopefully, to live. So the best I can do is to do all of the projects that I want to do, all of the hobbies that I have at the right pace, and also to allocate time mentally later. People that are into productivity knows what I'm talking about. It's the whole thing that you have to perform fast and you have to be efficient, which I'm 100% for. I am not for not being efficient. I realize a lot of people within this circle put a lot of pressure on achieving things at a certain time. The problem is when they don't achieve those things at specific time, then they call it failure and stop. I'm saying that because I am like this. Some people magically are those really good, well-organized people. They will not procrastinate. They will do things. They have routines and are regular. But other people actually struggle a lot. I started this channel because I wanted to document my language learning journey because I knew it's going to be a long journey. Initially thought within a couple of years I would be fluent in a new language and then I would be able to experience new things. That's not the case. I even lost a lot of abilities in one of the language that I've studied, which is Spanish. But over the years, I have this thing with Korean language where I've kind of started randomly After studying Japanese in high school and then had to stop, I started to pick up Korean. But I say this expression, my relationship with Korean language is, in a way, I'm pretty sure you might not be able to say that for that purpose, but it's because I'm in and out with the language. Ultimately, I want to be able to speak it fluently or at a decent level, but because I don't put a timeline, I don't progress like crazy much, but I do continue consume Korean content. I do sometimes take a challenge. Like right now I'm doing 30 days speaking challenge, which actually is the reason why I'm doing this video, because I have to record myself speaking in Korean. And I thought, oh wow, I haven't give up fully Korean. I did give up in between, but it's still something's going on. So would I consider that I failed learning Korean? No, but in a way I did fail in my initial idea that I'll be fluent at some earlier point. The other side, I've told myself that I failed so many other projects. I tried to start my own lingerie business, mix and match lingerie. I've done crochet, I've done calligraphy, I've done sculpting, clay sculpting, 3D sculpting. I've done so many things that I've stopped, that in the past I used to really believe that that's a big failure to have stopped it. But now I really realize there is the fine line. You might think that you failed because you had this idea and you had a specific timeline to achieve that idea, but you didn't achieve it. But does that mean you failed and you should stop? And that's the reality. You should not. A lot of people are unrealistic in terms of time. We think we have limited amount of time in our life, in our day, in a year. It's true, but it's also true how you use your time in priority. If something is very important, like eating, you would find time to eat. So all of the things that you do have time to do them, but you just have to set the priority. But when you have the goal in mind and you have the timeline, usually in your head that becomes the priority. So you think that's my priority. I want to reach B1 Korean in a year. At the moment, when I'm setting this goal, it might be my priority, but maybe tomorrow or in a month, another priority will come on top of learning Korean. Maybe applying to a new job or planning this. The priority would supersede or come on top of your initial priority. So your timeline or the time allocated to achieve the goal that you initially give yourself a month ago, a week ago, is now going to the second priority, which means you will give it less time, which naturally lead to that you will not achieve it on time, even if initially you calculated right. One problem is priority shift. You have a goal, you set a time to achieve the goal, but within this time frame, your priority has shifted, so you give less time to the priority. The second problem is that you do not calculate properly how much time you need to achieve something. A lot of us are guilty of that. You believe that you can do something in shorter time that you actually can. Not everybody is like this. The last thing, which I think a lot of us see failure rather than the progress, the effort and the result. There is obviously the 80-20 rules, but there is also the compound effect of exponential growth. If you've been working on something for a short time, while you did make progress, those progress don't compound over time enough, or at least you don't give it enough time to compound for you to see result. Let's imagine I want to become a baker, and I said I give myself 6 months and I want to be able to make a wedding cake. Of course, you have to learn the basics, right? But the wedding cake is a pretty big achievement. While in the first few weeks, you're learning literally the baking chemistry. You have to learn the time it takes to bake. You have to learn all of this. You have to also learn theory or what tool to use or what temperature. So you accumulated all of this knowledge all of this small practice, but you haven't been able to put them into perspective. And maybe after 2 months, you try to do a wedding cake and then you fail. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that you've built on the skills, but it takes longer time to achieve the end result. Now that we have this out of the way, what can you do to not have this failure? What can you do to not fail? The first thing is that you have to accept that your expectation might be too high in the time frame that you put yourself. And that does not mean that what you want to achieve is too much. I believe we can all achieve whatever we want. I just think that realistically, instead of taking 2 months, it might take 5. And if you stop at the 2 month limit, you are missing on achieving what you can achieve. Once you reach a time that you believe was the time you set for yourself, maybe it's best to evaluate. If I set myself a year to reach in Korean B1, and my initial goal was to study every week for 2 hours on the weekend and to practice writing once per week. And if I've done it for a year, maybe that's what I would get. But after a year, I look back, did I done this consistently without stopping? If the answer is no, I haven't failed the goal. I just failed in the process of doing it. I didn't respect the plan. So I failed the planning part, not the result part. The result definitely failed because the plan was not the one that I executed. So the first thing to ask, did I execute the plan that I had? Was the plan actually realistic? That's number 2. And the last one is, if I want to achieve that, should I change the plan or should I change the timeline? A lot of us do a lot of things at the same time. I am not here to promote doing one thing, focusing on one thing. I think that helps, but if you're like me, you would not be able to do one thing. You would want to do a lot of things at the same time. So rather than that, maybe give yourself more time in achieving each goal. I want to learn Korean in a year. I want to do an art exhibition in 2 years. Maybe the time frame is too short. Maybe I should put Korean as like a 3-year plan. Because in my head, once I learn the skill of learning Korean, I would have it. I don't have any urgency to learn Korean, so I can live without having it. It's the creative, like doing an art exhibition. It's a long process. It's going to be a lifelong process as well. So it's important to think about the plan. Did I do the plan correctly? Was the timeline correct? Was the expected result compatible with the plan and the time frame? And the second thing is plan in priorities, and also what would make the most difference to your life in achieving. For example, if you want to lose weight, feel healthier, or have a better relationship with food, that is part of your health, and that should be priority. Oh, that's my priority. If you earn very little amount of money and you're like, okay, I want to earn a lot of money, maybe starting a business is a priority, but getting first a job that will sustain that until you get the business running, it's a priority. So we always have to get the priority. This is not to say give up your plan of learning a language in a few months or setting up a successful business in a few months. No, but always give each priority the good time frame, the good planning, and be really mindful of your expectation. Always aim super high, aim high, but give yourself the opportunity to rest in between. I love this whole community of productivity and entrepreneurship, but if we get burned out and stop. There's no point. I would rather be slow and steady, and it takes me like 5 years. Then for 10 years I try and I fail and I burn out, stop, and I do it again after like 2-3 months, and it's a constant thing. It's exhausting. We don't want that. We want an easy soft life. While we want to work hard to get what we want, but we want to enjoy the process. So you have not failed. Your expectation, the plan, the expected result, the plan, and the time frame, and the priority was not synchronized. So you have not failed. But to do better, you can do those steps. And this is also something that I'm applying to myself, and I wanted to share as a way to document my own journey with this. I'm a go-getter, always busy, and only recently I've started to slow down and seen the benefit of taking the time to appreciate every steps and taking the time to have realistic expectation, not realistic goals. We're not here for realistic goal. We're here for overachiever goals. But the expectation on yourself should be, okay, maybe I want to speak 10 language, but maybe not in 3 years. We just have to be a little bit more mindful there. So yeah, that's kind of what I've learned in my 20s. It's just conclusion, a little bit of self-reflection on the productivity and the whole failure situation. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. This video, it's more to share a thought process, which I've liked watching recently on YouTube, of people just not preparing anything and sharing their thought process. This was fun to listen to or to watch, and yeah, I will probably be sharing some things like that time to time on how I want to grow mentally on the productivity space, and also how I'm trying to achieve my language goals. So see you next time.